Hey, it's Mo. Really glad you're here today. I've got another absolutely beautiful day for filming. I'm so glad. I only use natural light, so my filming is dependent on the weather in many cases, and today's just been spectacular so far, and I thought I'd start out with just filming because I like to take advantage of the good days when I can. And why do I do that? It's because I want you to see things as accurately as I can present them to you, showing you that I'm just a real person who really loves makeup, as I say, because I've got, you know, lines and scars and all those things that I think most people have. I definitely have pores. There's nothing perfected. And I know when I look in a mirror, like my rear view mirror, right, the most telling mirror of all, I want to see what things are really going to look like, not what they would look like under studio lighting. So this one is interesting to me because I had done the eye palette tag a couple of weeks ago, and you know, there were so many categories, smallest, biggest, all that stuff, and one of them was your most expensive, and my most expensive was the Pat McGrath Divine Rose. And a lot of people requested that I do a dedicated video to Divine Rose. I think I mentioned that maybe I thought that time had passed because now the Divine Rose 2 is out, but people said no, they would like to see my review of the original Divine Rose. So I'm doing that today. I had mentioned in that video that I bought that original palette, the Divine Rose 1, which we'll call it now, when it launched, and I didn't realize it had launched in November of last year, late November of 2019. And I had not used it. When I showed it in that video, it was the first time not the first time I had opened it, but that I'd actually really gotten it out and considered using it, because when they launched that, it disappeared. Like, it was gone, gone, gone. No one could find it anywhere. It was like a one-day release and then it was gone. And so, as I said in that video, I didn't want to review something that I felt you couldn't get your hands on. And then it would pop up occasionally, but then it was gone again. Well, now it's at Sephora, and with the release of Divine Rose 2, it's also pretty readily available on the Pat McGrath Labs website. So I thought now did seem an appropriate time to review it, because you can actually get it. And particularly when it's at Sephora, I know that's just a place that more people are likely to shop than like at a specific brand website. So Divine Rose 1, as I said, but we're calling it now since there are two versions. I'm sure you've seen this a lot. This was the first time that a Pat McGrath palette, and these are $125, keep that in mind, that I really felt the colors were like, okay, yeah, those are colors I would love. Not that her other ones didn't appeal to me. There were a couple that I kept putting in and out of my cart over the years, especially when there was a 20% off or whatever at Sephora, but I just never was quite sure. This one I was pretty sure, and I took the leap. So now I have used it for you know, more than a week, because I don't do first impressions. And I want to tell you what I really think about all aspects of this. So first of all, the packaging is the same packaging, outer packaging, as all of the Pat McGrath Mothership palettes. This is Mothership 7, by the way. So they are this cardboard packaging with this closure that I consider like an envelope closure, because this is a really simple, it's really kind of fantastic how she used this, such a simple idea. I mean, these were used for envelopes for ever and ever and ever, for things that had to be reopened and closed and reopened and closed, but she used them, such a simple thing, in such a luxury way, almost akin to how Coco Chanel made, you know, jersey, which was a very pedestrian fabric, into something that was quite elegant. So, you know, it's not an equivalency, but it's similar in the way that she chose to do something so simple and made it seem so elegant, which I really think is cool. The artwork, I don't think you can deny that that is some seriously cool artwork. I mean, it's just beautiful. It's beautiful. So that is the packaging, and as I said, the Mothership palettes are all packaged in this way. They've all got the Pat McGrath Labs kind of logo, if you want to call it that. And then on the back, you know, they have kind of the nitty-gritty details, the weight, the ingredients, that kind of thing. And all the packages are that way. So let's open it up. And I know, as I said, you've seen this because there have been reviews around, certainly. But I wanted to talk a little bit about some aspects of it. So when you open it, the shades of the colors, the shade names I should say, are in a separate, it's like a cardboard insert really, in the package. So that's what the package is ultimately like. And so the colors are here. They are not listed in the palette itself. which typically is something people would complain about. Now, I don't know that I've heard anyone specifically make that complaint about Pat McGrath Mothership palettes. I think perhaps they consider it kind of a sign of elegance that the names aren't in there. I don't know, I'm making an assumption. I would still prefer that the names are in there. I like to be able to reference my colors by name. And I know that in some cases, certainly Pat McGrath shades have been repeated in some palettes. So I think some people would like that, but again, that's a choice. So these are the colors in Divine Rose. You can obviously see this one is a duochrome. You know, you can really see the difference here. We've got more gold, and then in the mirror it looks more pink. And that's, you know, I mean, how do you deny that that's just a beautiful piece of art, a beautiful palette? I certainly can't. And also, you know, these are what people call the special shades, right? These four, if you cover those up, I mean, you have a pretty standard neutral cool palette, except this has warmth, obviously. But it leans kind of that mauve-y, mauve-y cool tone that admittedly I like. I talk about that a lot. So those are colors that I very much am drawn to, and the addition of a warmer tone in there to kind of balance things out is nice. And then you've got these four special shades, which all have a different finish, and you know, there's a duochrome, and then there's this, what I would call a topper glitter almost. And this is a duochrome as well. This one doesn't come off quite as obvious, but I think you can see the shift right there to pink. It's a white to pink. And then this is a gold glimmery. I don't know if I'd really say it's glittery, but that's, you know, that is ultimately the palette. It is 10 colors. So, you know, there you go. And that's, I think one of the reasons this was so popular, even more than some of her other palettes, at least as I understand it, I think because it was maybe more approachable to the average, average person like me who's not a makeup artist, because Pat McGrath is a makeup artist. You know, she's not new to the scene. I've known about her for a couple of decades, I think, because she was always listed, like, when I actually read magazines, she was listed as, like, makeup done by Pat McGrath. She is an artist, and that's evident in her work, and it's also evident, I think, in the Pat McGrath Labs brand, because as I say, I try very hard not to refer to brands as individuals, so I try not to say her palette or the palette she created. I try to always refer to, like, the brand, which is Pat McGrath Labs. I try to do that consistently across my channel. So there are the shades that I think, and I think it's a beautiful, absolutely beautiful piece. And the packaging, as with all the Mothership palettes, is this very heavyweight, luxe feeling, very heavy. It's plastic, but it looks like a black lacquer, almost kind of case. And then on the back, it is a gold metal, and it is engraved. And the mirror is very nice, a beveled, pretty mirror. So the packaging, I think, is really beautiful. The one thing that surprised me about the packaging, actually, is that this is it's not a metal hinge, it's kind of a plastic, I guess, hinge. At least that's the way it comes across. So it's not quite as smooth as I would have thought. Maybe that's good because because it holds up and it's not closing on you. And it does have a magnetic closure, by the way. So that's kind of the makeup of the palette itself, and you know, and it's heavy. I mean, in your hand, this has weight. This feels like something that's special and luxurious, and I think when you open the palette, it seems like something that's special. That's one of the reasons that I chose to get it. We're gonna do swatches, of course. I have it on my eyes today, and I wanted to talk about what do you get for $125? Because I think that's a valid question when you're talking about a luxury product like this. But first we're gonna do swatches, because I know everybody comes for the swatches, right? I do, always. So the colors we're gonna do are Skin Show Nude, Velouria, and Sable Bronze. We'll do those three first. Skin Show Nude, Velouria, Sable Bronze. They swatch beautifully. That matte swatches, I mean, for a matte shadow, that swatches very beautifully. I will say there's quite a bit of powder kick up on the mattes, which surprised me a little bit. But having said that, they, at least when I've used them, they blend out really beautifully. And then we're gonna go down here to Extreme Mahogany, Love Lace, and Rose Dusk. They feel lovely to the touch. So again, Extreme Mahogany, Love Lace, Rose Dusk. Everything swatches beautifully, as you can see, even though I didn't do a beautiful swatch, but you get the gist. There's only two mattes in this palette. That is Extreme Mahogany and Velouria. So Extreme Mahogany and Velouria are the only mattes in the 10 shade palette. So these are what we call the regular shades, or most people would refer to as just the standard shades in the palette. So there's obviously a shimmery light one. We've got the 2 mattes. There's a metallic and another kind of metallic, almost leaning glitter. And then this one to me is also metallic. And then we get into the special shades, which I'll do all 4 of those. So there's Refined Gold, Iridescent Pink, VR Rose Venus, and Astral Solstice. So Refined Gold, Iridescent Pink, VR Rose Venus, and Astral Solstice. Cool names. I mean, Pat McGrath has very cool, like, space age themed names. This is that more glitter top coat, I would call it. It's not exactly a glitter, but you can see that glitter flies away from that one, and you do get fallout absolutely from that shade. At least I do. The duochrome is right here. That's that rose to kind of gold duochrome, and this is the white to pink duochrome. So there's the whole palette. Very good quality. Everything feels very nice. When I've used it, I've with the exception of that one glitter shade, which I consider to be in a different category, these have all just performed really beautifully. They go on really well. They blend really, really well, which I appreciate. It's a really nice formula. So in terms of that, absolutely, it's a good eyeshadow formula. Now, is it worth $125? Good formula. Well, first of all, you know, as I would say, look at the colors. Are these colors you have? Are these colors you could duplicate in your collection? You know, that's one thing to consider. Another to consider is what kind of makeup person are you? Some people are collectors. They collect for the beauty of the collection. I'm one of those people. And for other people, that's ridiculous, right? This is a thing you're going to use, so why would you get it just to collect it? Neither one is better than the other. They're both valid points, but you need to know who you are when you're thinking about spending particularly this kind of money. Another thing I wanted to point out was the size. So what amount of product do you get? Because you know, it's so heavy and it's so huge. Think, my God, I'm getting like the most eyeshadow in the world. And these are good size pans. They are, I think they're 1.4 grams each, which is definitely a good sized eyeshadow. I always say the standard shadow pan size in a palette is 1 gram. So these are larger than that. But I found a palette that is the exact same weight, so the exact same amount of eyeshadow as the Pat McGrath Mothership palette, and it's from Juvia's Place, and it is, well, really any of their 6 pan palettes like this. So this has the exact same amount, 13.2 grams, as the 10 shades in Pat McGrath. So these pans in the Juvia's Place palette are larger than the pans in the Pat McGrath palette. Now it doesn't seem that way because the diameter of the pans in this is larger, it looks larger to the eye, but then you'd have to assume that these are deeper pans, right? So that's something to always keep in mind. Even if you see like something that looks really large, it could be very shallow in terms of how much product is in there. Which again, not a criticism of the Pat McGrath, because 1.4 grams is still pretty huge. For an eyeshadow pan, but I just wanted to give you kind of a comparison of, okay, well, how huge really is it? You know, because it is so pricey. And this, I think this is the Violets palette, by the way, from Juvia's Place, and I think this is $14. So obviously significant price difference. I'm not comparing colors. I'm not comparing shade quality. I'm just comparing size. So this is when you have to make your decision based on what it is you would like. For your budget, which is always number one for me. I never assume that anyone has a makeup budget, right? Because you may have none. You might have a huge budget. You might just kind of sometimes do some retail therapy. I mean, everybody is different. I try to always be aware of that when I'm doing reviews or whatever, because when I'm doing a review, it's about, do you think this is something you should use your money for or not? And in a case like this, it's not a straight ahead, yep, you should buy this because this is very expensive. But what kind of makeup person are you? What is it are you looking for something remarkably special that you're gonna kind of treasure? That's how I feel about this palette. Even though these shades on this side particular are not like world changing shades. You know, they're cool neutrals, right? They're very pretty, they're a very good formula. They're not going to change my life. And these are very interesting too. But as a whole, the whole package, the whole thing, like to me, that's something I really wanted to add to my collection. Will I get Divine Rose 2? I'm not going to deny that I've been tempted because I also really like those colors. For now, I'm saying no. I have watched some reviews, and again, I think the formula, based on what I've seen, is very good, and the colors are very pretty, but sometimes I think it's nice to have like one thing that's special instead of having all the things that are special, and that makes it more special. That could just be the way I feel about it, but I kind of treasure this Divine Rose 1 palette, and I'm not saying I won't get the Divine Rose 2 or I won't ask for it maybe as a gift. That might be cool. But this I ordered for a specific reason. I felt very special about it when I ordered it. It seemed very indulgent, very exciting, and I still feel that way about it. So I don't mind just having one. And, you know, the looks I can get out of this are very nice. Is this going to be an everyday palette for me? Not really. For me, this seems like it's special. Every time I use it, it's special. So it's not going to be like a workhorse palette for me. It's going to be more for like, I'm going to pull it out for special things. Even though I think the look I got today is nothing like, I mean, I would wear this every day, absolutely. Even with the glitter, that's okay. So, I just wanted to give you all those impressions, not just the swatches, not just the formula, not just the brand name, but kind of all of those factors. So if you are really trying to decide if this is something you want to get, I hope that's information that's helpful to you, because that is, as always, my only purpose here. I love makeup just so much. I don't know why I love it. I was drawn to it as a kid. And I love that you let me kind of talk about it and you hang out with me here. And I hope that you are at peace today. And I will talk to you soon.